The Code of Chivalry. The rules. Knights lived and died by. A knight kneels before his lord. A sword touches his shoulders. A vow is sworn to protect the weak, honor women, serve God, and never flee from battle. It's a moment of reverence, of glory, and of myth. Because for every knight who swore to uphold the Code of Chivalry, there were others who burned villages, broke oaths, and killed for gold. Tonight, we're cutting through the legend to uncover the real Code of Chivalry, what it meant, how it shaped the Middle Ages, and why even the greatest knights could never live up to it. Knighthood was never just about fighting. It was about how you fought, and why. The Code of Chivalry promised to turn violent men into honorable warriors. But was it really a moral code? Or just clever propaganda for an age drenched in blood? Let's journey through the ideals, the contradictions, and the realities of knighthood, and separate the romance from the brutality. Section 1. The birth of the code. The word chivalry comes from the Old French chevalerie, literally horse soldiery. It began not as a moral code, but as a description of men who fought on horseback. In the chaos of the 9th and 10th centuries, knights were little more than heavily armed thugs. They served whoever paid them, raided villages, and enforced feudal law with steel. The church, horrified by the violence, decided to tame them. Through the peace and truce of God movements, bishops declared certain people, women, peasants, clergy, off limits to attack. It was the beginning of chivalry as a moral idea. War, but with rules. Section 2. The Knight's Oath. By the 12th century, as knights gained power and prestige, the Code of Chivalry became formalized. When a young man was knighted, he swore vows such as to defend the church and the weak, to be brave and loyal, to protect women and uphold honor, to never lie or betray trust, to show mercy to a defeated enemy. These ideals were celebrated in epic tales like the Song of Roland and Le Morte d'Arthur. But for most knights, these weren't rules. They were aspirations. In reality, the same men who prayed for God's grace in the morning might raid a village by night. Section 3. The Church and the Sword. Religion was the heart of chivalry, and its biggest contradiction. Knights were supposed to fight for God, but they were also professional killers. The Church called them Milites Christi, soldiers of Christ. Through the Crusades, violence became holy. A knight who died in battle for the faith was promised salvation. In a sense, the Church transformed the sword into a sacred symbol. Knighthood wasn't just about power. It was about penance through violence. Killing in God's name was no sin. Section 4. Courtly love and the cult of the lady. If God shaped the knight's soul, love shaped his heart, or so the poets said. The medieval concept of courtly love turned women into symbols of purity and grace. Knights were expected to serve their ladies with the same devotion they gave their lords, or their God. Troubadours sang of secret romances, forbidden love, and the knight's endless yearning. In reality, it was complicated. Most marriages were arranged for politics, not passion, but chivalric love, the worship of an unattainable lady, gave knights a moral outlet for desire. It wasn't about seduction, it was about idealization. And it gave medieval Europe its most enduring myth, the gentleman warrior. Section 5. The reality behind the myth. For every Lancelot, there were 100 mercenaries. Knights swore to protect the weak, but often were the threat. They burned villages, taxed peasants, and slaughtered prisoners of war. Even honor in battle was more about money than morality. Ransoming captured nobles was lucrative. Sparing a poor soldier wasn't. And mercy rarely survived the chaos of war. The truth? The Code of Chivalry was an ideal, an impossible mirror that no knight could fully reflect. Section 6. Tournaments and the business of glory. Chivalry didn't just define how knights fought, it defined how they performed. Tournaments became massive public spectacles where knights displayed their valor. Originally chaotic melees, they evolved into structured jousts, two knights charging with lances, the crowd roaring as armor shattered. Victory brought wealth, fame, and sometimes love. Defeat brought humiliation or death. Chivalry demanded courage, and tournaments turned that courage into entertainment. But just like today's sports stars, knights often became celebrities, living more for fame than faith. Section 7. The Chivalric Orders. Some knights took the code seriously enough to dedicate their lives to it. The Knights Templar, Knights Hospitaller, and Teutonic Knights combined religious devotion with military discipline. They swore vows of poverty, chastity, and obedience, but they also became some of the most powerful organizations in Europe. For these men, chivalry wasn't poetry, it was purpose. Their downfall came not from enemies in battle, but from politics and greed. Even the most holy orders couldn't escape the sins of man. Section 8. The Decline of Chivalry. By the late Middle Ages, the world that created chivalry was dying. Gunpowder made knights obsolete. Professional armies replaced feudal loyalty. The battlefield no longer cared for oaths of honor. Writers like Geoffrey Chaucer and Miguel de Cervantes began mocking the idea of the noble knight. Don Quixote's delusion became Europe's mirror. Yet even as chivalry faded, its myth survived. It became the seed of modern ideals, gentlemanly conduct, military codes, and notions of honor that still shape our world today. Conclusion. The Code of Chivalry was never truly real, but it was always necessary. It gave a violent world a conscience, even if only on paper. It made killers believe they could be heroes. And maybe that illusion of honor in chaos is what allowed civilization to endure. Because every age, even ours, needs its code. If you enjoyed this deep dive into the myths and realities of knighthood, hit like and subscribe to TorchLit History, where we bring the medieval world to life, one legend at a time. Comment, would you have followed the Code of Chivalry or broken it to survive? And stay tuned for our next episode. The Rise of Viking Raiders, Fear from the North. Because history's codes may change, but honor never truly dies.